Mark wasn't expecting a financial crisis that Tuesday morning. He was sitting at his kitchen table before work, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, scrolling through headlines while the house was still quiet. Then he saw one that made him stop. Average American aged 45 to 54 has nearly $1 million in net worth. Mark read it twice, nearly $1 million. He looked around the kitchen. The same mortgage, the same car payment, the same retirement account he'd been contributing to for years whenever there was room in the budget. And then came the question that millions of Americans in their 40s ask themselves at some point. Wait, am I behind? Not panic, not outright fear, just that quiet anxiety, that uncomfortable feeling that maybe everyone else has some secret financial playbook that you somehow missed. Because from the outside, life looked fine. He had a job, a house, a retirement account, kids who needed braces, parents who were starting to need help. But $1 million? That number didn't feel like his reality. And if you're watching this at age 45 or anywhere close, you've probably had a similar moment. Maybe it wasn't a headline. Maybe it was a coworker talking about their investments. Maybe it was a retirement calculator. Maybe it was seeing someone your age online claiming they hit financial freedom. Whatever triggered it, the question is the same. Where am I actually supposed to be? So in this video, we're going to answer that question using the newest available data. We're going to look at what the average 45-year-old really has in 2026. We'll uncover the number the headlines use and the number that actually matters. We'll see exactly where the middle class really stands. And most importantly, we'll talk about what you can do if you're not where you hoped you'd be. Because by the end of this video, I think you'll discover something surprising. You're probably much closer to normal than you think. Let's start with the headline number. According to the most recent Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances data available and updated estimates, for 2026, the average net worth for Americans between ages 45 and 54 is approximately $975,800. And at first glance, that sounds incredible. Almost $1 million. If that's the average, then surely most people around age 45 must be sitting on a small fortune. Except that's not how averages work. Imagine 10 people standing in a room. 9 of them have $100,000. The 10th person has $10 million. The average person in that room suddenly appears wealthy. But 9 out of 10 people aren't. The average gets pulled upward by the extreme wealth at the top. And that's exactly what's happening here. The 45 to 54 age bracket includes some extraordinarily wealthy Americans. People like entrepreneurs, executives, hedge fund managers, and business owners whose wealth runs into the hundreds of millions, or even billions, of dollars. Their fortunes dramatically inflate the average, which is why financial planners usually prefer a different measurement, the median. The median simply tells us what the person in the exact middle looks like. Half of people have more, half have less. And when we look at the median net worth for Americans aged 45 to 54, the picture changes dramatically. The median isn't $975,800. It's approximately $247,200. Think about that. The average is nearly $1 million. The median is just under $250,000. That's a gap of more than $700,000. $700,000. That's the difference between the financial reality of a typical American and the financial reality implied by the headline. So if you saw that $1 million figure and immediately felt behind, here's the first thing to remember. You are comparing yourself to a number distorted by extreme wealth. The median American isn't sitting on $1 million. The median American is sitting on about $247,000 in total net worth. And if your number is somewhere around that range, you're not behind. You're actually standing right in the middle of America. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. Now let's go deeper, because averages and medians only tell part of the story. Here's what the wealth distribution for Americans around age 45 looks like in 2026. The bottom 25% have a net worth below approximately $48,000. The median, the 50th percentile, sits around $247,200. The top 25% starts around $680,000. The top 10% begins around $1,400,000. And the top 1%? Approximately $8,700,000 or more. So take a second and find where you land. Not where social media says you should land. Not where your most successful friend landed. Where you actually land. Because once you see the full distribution, something becomes obvious. Most Americans are nowhere near millionaire status, But here's the twist. Even these numbers can be misleading, because net worth is not the same thing as spendable money. A huge portion of middle-class wealth is tied up in one asset, their house. For many Americans in their mid-40s, between 60 and 70% of total net worth is home equity. And home equity is real wealth, absolutely. But it isn't liquid. You can't easily use it to pay grocery bills in retirement. You can't swipe home equity at the pharmacy. You can't automatically convert it into monthly income. So let's strip that away for a moment. When we focus on retirement savings and investment accounts instead of total net worth, the picture becomes much more modest. The median retirement savings for people in this age range is often estimated between $75,000 and $120,000. Meanwhile, Vanguard's retirement data shows the median 401(k) balance for this age group is only about $60,763. Suddenly, the story scene changes. The average 45-year-old isn't sitting on piles of liquid investments. Many are still trying to build them. And that's why the next section matters so much. Because age 45 isn't just another birthday. Mathematically speaking, it's one of the most important financial turning points of your entire life. Let's look at two people. Person A starts investing at age 35. Person B waits until age 45. Everything else is identical. Both invest $1,000 every month. Both earn an average annual return of 8%. Both retire at age 65. Simple, fair. Same behavior. Same discipline. Just a different starting date. Person A ends up with approximately $1,490,000. Person B ends up with approximately $589,000. The difference? About $901,000. $901,000 lost simply because of a 10-year delay. Not because person B invested less. Not because they made bad choices. Not because they picked the wrong stocks. Because time is the most powerful force in investing. And once you're 45, time becomes more valuable than ever. But here's the part that often gets ignored. Many people didn't delay because they were irresponsible. They delayed because life happened. In fact, Americans in their 40s are facing pressures that previous generations experienced differently, or sometimes not at all. The first is caregiving. According to research from organizations including Pew Research Center and AARP, more than 54% of Americans in midlife are supporting both aging parents and children at the same time. This group is often called the sandwich generation, and it's expensive. The average out-of-pocket caregiving cost is approximately $7,200 per year. Every year. Money that isn't going into retirement accounts. Money that isn't compounding. Money that is helping family members survive. The second pressure is housing and debt. Many 45-year-olds bought homes later than previous generations. Many are still carrying substantial mortgages. Some are still paying student loans. Others are helping children through college while trying to save for retirement simultaneously. In other words, the challenge isn't always discipline. Often it's mathematics colliding with responsibility. And that's why age 45 is such a pivot point. You still have roughly 20 years until a traditional retirement age. That's enough time for compounding to work, but it's not enough time to postpone action indefinitely. The next 12 to 24 months could have a larger impact on your retirement outcome than the previous decade. The good news? You don't need to become wealthy overnight. You just need to understand the real target. And in the next section, we're going to discover that the retirement number most Americans carry around in their heads is probably much larger than it actually needs to be. Now here's where things get really interesting, because after people learn where they stand, they usually ask the next question. Okay, but how much do I actually need? And that's where the fear industry takes over. Every year, retirement surveys ask Americans how much money they think they'll need to retire comfortably. The answers keep getting bigger. According to recent retirement studies from firms such as Fidelity, Northwestern Mutual, and Allianz Life, many Americans now believe they need roughly $1,460,000 or more to retire comfortably. And honestly, it's easy to understand why. You hear about inflation. You hear about healthcare costs. You hear warnings that Social Security may change in the future. You hear stories about people living into their 90s. Eventually, the retirement number starts feeling like a moving target that keeps running away from you. But here's the problem. Fear does the math one way. Actual math does it another. Let's assume a retired household wants to spend $60,000 per year. Not luxury spending. Not private jet spending, just a solid middle-class retirement. Now let's use the updated safe withdrawal research. The original 4% rule dominated retirement planning conversations for decades. But more recent work, including research associated with financial planner Bill Bengen's updated analysis, suggests a withdrawal rate closer to 4. 7% may be reasonable under certain historical conditions. Using a 4.7% withdrawal rate, generating $60,000 annually requires a portfolio of approximately $1,277,000. Already we're below the scary survey number. But we're not finished, because most retirees don't fund retirement entirely from investments. They also receive Social Security. The average annual Social Security benefit in 2026 is approximately $25,000 per year. So now the portfolio only needs to generate the remaining $35,000. And suddenly the math changes dramatically. $35,000 divided by 4.7% equals roughly $744,000. Not $1,460,000. Not $2 million. Approximately $744,000. That's still a significant goal, but it's a very different goal. The lesson is simple. Fear starts with giant numbers and works backward. Good planning starts with spending needs and works forward. And once you understand the target, you can start using strategies that actually move the needle. The first strategy is called the tax bracket shift. This strategy revolves around Roth conversions. Here's the basic idea. Many people retire with large balances in traditional retirement accounts. Every future withdrawal becomes taxable income. But if you gradually convert portions of those accounts into a Roth account during lower income years, you can potentially pay taxes at lower rates today and avoid higher taxes later. Imagine someone converts $20,000 annually for 10 years while sitting in a moderate tax bracket. That's $200,000 moved into a Roth environment. If that money doubles over time, future growth and qualified withdrawals can be tax-free. Depending on future tax rates, that could easily save tens of thousands of dollars in retirement taxes. The key isn't doing one giant conversion. It's strategically filling lower tax brackets before they disappear. A conversation with a qualified tax professional can help determine whether this makes sense for your situation. The second strategy is called the Age 50 Accelerator. Most people view turning 50 as a milestone. The tax code views it as an opportunity. Once you reach age 50, catch-up contributions allow you to save beyond standard retirement account limits. For a 401(n)(a), the additional catch-up amount pushes potential annual contributions significantly higher. Let's say someone increases retirement savings by roughly $9,000 per year beginning at age 50. If that extra money compounds at 8% annually for 12 years, it can generate approximately $171,000 in additional retirement assets. One decision, one adjustment, potentially 6 figures of additional retirement capital. This is one of the few opportunities where the government is essentially telling you, you're running out of runway. Save more if you can. And if you're approaching 50, it's worth planning for now, rather than waiting until the birthday arrives. The third strategy is called the sleep well buffer. One of the biggest risks near retirement isn't running out of money. It's being forced to sell investments after a major market decline. This is known as sequence of returns risk. The solution? Build a dedicated cash reserve before retirement. Many planners recommend maintaining 1 to 3 years of planned withdrawals in cash or cash equivalents. Imagine a retiree needing $60,000 annually. A 2-year buffer would equal $120,000. If the stock market falls 30%, they can spend from cash rather than selling investments at depressed prices. Financially, the benefit can be enormous. Emotionally, it's even bigger, because panic causes far more investment mistakes than spreadsheets ever do. The fourth strategy is called the Social Security multiplier. Most people focus obsessively on growing their investment portfolio. Far fewer focus on maximizing guaranteed income. Yet delaying Social Security can be one of the highest return decisions available. For every year benefits are delayed beyond full retirement age, payments generally increase by roughly 8% until age 70. Let's say someone qualifies for a benefit of $2,500 per month at full retirement age. Waiting until age 70 could increase that payment to roughly $3,300 per month. That's nearly $10,000 more income every year. For someone who lives 20 years in retirement, that decision alone could create hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional lifetime benefits. Sometimes the most valuable asset isn't a bigger portfolio. It's a larger guaranteed paycheck. Now let's go back to Mark, the guy sitting at the kitchen table, the guy who thought everyone else had nearly $1 million, the guy who quietly wondered whether he'd somehow fallen behind. But now Mark understands the real numbers. He knows the average was distorted. He knows the median is what matters. And he knows that age 45 is not the finish line. It's the pivot point. Let's say Mark increases his retirement contributions by between $800 and $1,000 per month starting today and stays consistent until age 65. Assuming long-term market returns near historical averages, that decision alone could generate approximately $471,000 to $589,000 in additional retirement assets. Using a 4.7% withdrawal rate, that's roughly $22,000 to $28,000 of additional annual retirement income. Combined with Social Security, Mark's retirement picture suddenly looks completely different. Not perfect, not magical, just strong. And that's really the lesson of this entire video. So remember these three things. Number 1, compare yourself to the real distribution, not the distorted average. Number 2, the retirement number is usually much lower when you use actual planning math instead of fear-based estimates. And number 3, at 45, you still have one asset that matters enormously: time. Less than you had at 35, but far more than you'll have at 55. Use it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future breakdowns. And in the next video, we're going to look at another fascinating question: 7 money rules families of color were never taught. I'll see you there.